Today on Unfiltered with Jen Archuleta, I'm joined by Chris Dorris, performance coach, speaker, and author of the book of mental toughness, Mantras, and Creating Your Dream. He trains athletes, leaders, and everyday people to master their minds and build real mental toughness. How did you get into mental toughness training? Something happened in your life, or is it just something you always wanted to do, or?
Yes to the first part, no to the second part. It is not something I always wanted to do. I didn't even know about it. So a few things happened. Maybe two things. I mean, a lot of things happened that led to this, but I think two of the standout things. There's one, my dad died when I was 9, and then we really struggled as a family. Our house was characterized by scarcity and a lot of fear, right? And not a lot of joy at all. My neighbors, however, were the opposite of us. They were so Dan. Their names were an old Irish couple named Dan and Mame. Her name was Mame, Mame. How great is that? Dan and Mame Kane, right there, and they were just so full of love and joy and celebration. And they would host people over all the time and have happy hours, and they're just full of joy. And I was always just in love with their vibe. You know, I loved being at their house, and I hated having to come home because it was like leaving heaven and going into a little bit of hell. So that was a big deal. I didn't know it at the time, but that was really impressionable, or that made a big impression on me. I was impressionable. So I was unconsciously witnessing a better choice, like their choice in how to live with abundance and celebration and lightness of being versus like all the darkness in my house. So that was one thing, and that was early on. And that was a big deal. But the other one was, and it actually was 34 years ago yesterday, this happened, where I was playing basketball, casual, after college. I was playing a casual pickup game at the Jersey Shore, and I shattered my leg. Really bad. Like a compound fracture, bone protrusion. It was horror. And I stopped playing hoops after I recovered from that. I'm like, that's enough. Started playing golf. And I discovered very rapidly how mental that game is. I turned into a psycho. I was a nut job. I was my own first client. I would throw clubs, I would scream and curse, and I got really curious. I'm like, well, how am I acting like such a buffoon out here? Like, I don't act this psychotic, not this much, in life. Like, what is going on? And I got real fascinated about it, and I decided, you know what, this is going to be my path. I'm going to marry my two biggest passions, which are human potential with sports, which is, of course, how I know Adam. And I did. So that was it. So I decided to do that. I moved out to Arizona and studied and created an internship with the men's golf team, and it evolved from there. So I didn't really pick it, really. I guess I kind of did. I knew fundamentally I just wanted to serve humans and help them stop creating so much unnecessary suffering for themselves.
Because golfing's supposed to be relaxing, right?
Theoretically, I think it is. It is. In fact, scientists say that like the most soothing of environments for people are manicured grasslands. It's a golf course. But people are getting all anyway. I did an experiment on that. We don't need to get into that, but it's like it's fun. We learn. This is relevant to our conversation. And that's why I really fell in love with the game of golf, and why I work with so many professional golfers, is because it's paradoxical. That game teaches us so much about life, and how much unnecessary struggle we create for ourselves with crappy thinking.
Getting back to growing up, did you have siblings?
Yeah, I'm adopted. I was the only one adopted in my family. I'm the youngest of 3. I have 2 older sisters. I didn't even know I was adopted until I was 10, and then I searched, starting at age 19, I searched for 19 years and finally found my birth mom. So I'm in touch with her. And she knows my birth father, and she put me in touch with his mom, so that's my paternal grandmother, and I talked to her, and then they just disappeared. They said, don't ever call again, which was really weird.
Yeah. And are you still close with your mom now?
So my adoptive mom, she passed away 5 years ago, and my biological mom yes, we're in touch.
I've always wanted to adopt. I've always been fascinated. I was a CASA for a long time, so it really touches my heart.
That's sweet. Oh my God. You used to live right by, you were walking distance to my late great mentor who did a lot of fundraising for CASA.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really great. And I changed a lot of lives. And it was my way of adopting all those little kids. Yeah. So you say train your mind like athletes train their bodies, right? How does one do that? How do we train our mind? I mean, you can go to the gym and you can do certain exercises and things like that, and we all get that, but how do we train our mind like you would train your body?
Yeah. So that is such an important question to me because that's like my life, And we all had gym class growing up, right? You had phys ed. I'm sure you did, right? In grade school
Yeah.
and probably in high
Hmm.
school too, and some people even in
Yeah.
college, right? Our academic experience made it abundantly clear that there's value in like movement and fitness and all that and physical activity. But then there was no class on emotional mastery.
Hmm.
There was phys ed, physical education, but there was no mental ed. There was no emotional ed. There was no class, right? There was no class that taught us how to become emotional masters, how to respond well to life.
Hmm.
So your question is unbelievably legitimate,
Yeah.
right? Like because nobody knows. And in fact, you had sent me some of the questions that you thought we might discuss, and one of them was like, one of the biggest misconceptions about mental toughness training? And it's not even a misconception; it's just the lack of knowing that it even is a thing.
Yeah.
Most people don't have misconceptions about it because they don't even know what it is. So to answer your question, simple things, and I will preface it by emphasizing that this is really simple. Like mental training is actually simple. Okay? Like for example, pay attention to your moods. The most fundamental practice, if I was only allowed to share one practice with people, it would be pay attention to your moods. Get really, really sophisticated at knowing how you're feeling from moment to moment and label with specificity how you're. So be in the question, like live in the inquiry. How am I feeling right now? What's going on inside? How am I doing? Do I like it? Do I agree with it? Is it nice? Could I change it? Let's do an exercise. Are you willing to do an exercise with me?
Sure.
Okay. It's easy. So do whatever you got to do inside yourself to create the emotional state, right, the mood of anxiety. And let me know when you're done. Go.
Well, that's not hard because I feel like I live in anxiety.
Everyone says that. It's so funny. Like, I was already there. You give me something challenging. All right, good. All right. So you were able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, let's try a different one. Okay, let's go a different direction. Do whatever you got to do inside yourself to create the emotional state of pure serenity, like total peacefulness. And let me know when you're done. Go.
Okay.
So you were able to do that also?
Yeah.
How? How did you do that?
I just started to think of things that are pleasing to me and things that I love and things that I want to do.
Notice that the beginning of your answer to my question, how did you do that? How did you create the state of serenity? You said, I started to think about. Those were your first words of your answer. How did you create serenity? I started to think about. This is very, very critical. This is the answer to your initial question. Let's do two more. Do whatever you got to do inside yourself to create the emotional state of, to go imposter syndrome. Or like, if that's not clear, like inadequacy or inferiority. Let me know when you're done. Go. Were you able to do that?
I mean, a little bit. It's hard because I'm like on the spot a little bit, but I think so.
Okay. Well, how did you even attempt it?
Again, I just start to think. I mean, that's all you could do is just put visions in your mind and
Exactly. So that's how you create any state. Is you think your way into it. Let's do one more. Create the emotional state of expertise, like world class expertise. Let me know when you're done.
okay.
So you did that one also.
Yeah.
You were able. So you succeeded at all these. And then how did you create that last one, the world-class expertise?
I just started to pretend that I was an expert at certain things.
Okay, so you're visualizing. So again, I'm going to paraphrase, Jen. So in order to succeed at the tasks that I just invited you to do, which is to create anxiety, which was effortless, to create serenity, which you did, and then to create imposter syndrome, and then world-class expertise, you chose to fill your mind with different stuff in order to accomplish the task, in order to create those unique states. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So what you did is you just traveled the expanse, what we could call the human emotional spectrum, or the whole highway of human emotions, from low grade, right, anxiety. We'll do it this way: low grade anxiety to high grade serenity, low grade imposter syndrome to high grade world class expertise. You just traveled back and forth along the emotional spectrum, and nothing in the world changed in your life except your thinking. So so let's just slow that down, because that's unbelievably profound. We all possess the ability to profoundly alter our states in a moment's time. I was trained as a licensed therapist. They never taught us this. Should have.
Well, I feel like, and I tell my kids this all the time, it's everything you think and what you say too, you become. So if you say I'm stupid, then you're going to feel stupid at times. If you go to the gym and you say I'm weak, it's going to be hard to work out.
We speak our way into our truths, right? I love what you're saying. I have a personal declaration statement. It's 2 pages long. Okay, and this I crafted this over years. This is actually the third version. I call it my I ams list. Right? So this is language that I've crafted over years, and I read it and I speak it to myself every day to create myself. So this is another answer to your question: is what's training? Well, we create ourselves with our stories, with our language, with our thoughts, right? With our beliefs. So I've created, this is what I want to be true for me, which is like, I am an expression of divine grace in human form. What could be wrong with my truth? I live in a perpetual state of lightness of being, and I bring that lightness to the planet. And I could just go on for like 3 minutes with all this, but this is language. This is also answer to your question: how do we train our minds? How do we strengthen our minds? Create language, and create language in present tense. Like, so the second one I said to you was, I live in a perpetual state of lightness of being, and I bring that lightness of being to the planet. Now, if you were taking a true or false test, and one of the questions was, does Chris Dorris live in a, true or false, Chris Dorris lives in a perpetual state of lightness of being. Would you go true or false?
I would have to say true.
No, you're giving me way too much credit, Jen.
I mean, if that's how you feel about yourself, how could I argue? I don't know how you feel.
Well, it's not always true. I still get, I am at a point in my own training, and I never take any seconds off. One of my mantras is no seconds off. I never, ever take any seconds off of my own mental training. Meaning I'm always in the self-inquiry. How am I feeling now? Did I choose this, or am I just thinking like shit? Could this use an upgrade? Do I want to change my thoughts to upgrade my state right now? I'm always doing that. Like, I'm a big time Philadelphia sports fan. When my teams lose, if you watched me on a football Sunday, when the Eagles lose, you'd be thinking that guy is not qualified to coach anybody on anything. He's a nutcase. Okay, so stuff happens, right? And I still get bent, but the good news is I don't get bent for long anymore. The amount of time that I spend in anxiety or in angst is shrinking by the day, right? Because of the practice. So the answer is false. CD does not live in a perpetual state of lightness of being yet. With practice, right? Because the amount of time that I'm spending having a problem with reality is shrinking because of my practice. So back to your great question. I think everything we talk about is going to come back to your great question, which is, how do we train? How do we train? Start systematically eliminating complaining. That's a good one for your audience, right? Because scientists, do you want to take a guess at how often, according to these scientists, human beings complain on average? Do you want to take?
Well, I know all day long. And I even told my kid there's a day of the week we stopped doing it, just like a lot of things, but you couldn't complain all day long that day. You could not. And you were rewarded.
That's a hell of
But
a
it was a
challenge.
good
That's nice.
practice
That's
because
so good.
you would catch yourself. If it was like no complain Wednesday, then it's like, oh gosh, we can't complain today. And you would catch yourself. But we do complain a lot.
That's so good. There you go. That's it. What you're talking about, that's the practice, is catching. Right? So again, the question you asked, right? How do we practice strengthening our minds? My definition of mental toughness is the ability, earned through practice, to respond to all of life rapidly with grace, mastery, creative genius, and enthusiasm, so that we can get to the creation of excellence faster and with least effort. And the way that so what's the practice, right? Is what we're talking about this whole time, is to catch yourself when you're in complaint. And according to the scientists, it's once every 11 seconds. And most of our complaints, but most of those complaints happen silently in our minds. They don't even make it out into the spoken world. We just think, we just have a problem with what is. My pen broke a few minutes ago. And I'm like, oh shit. Like my pen just broke, just the thing fell off. And I was writing, I was in a coaching session. And I think to myself, oh shit. That's my immediate, why? Why is that my immediate auto response? Oh shit. Why is that it? Because we practiced it. Because we have practiced having a problem with so much of life. So let's make this practical, right? Practice. So practice catching yourself when you're complaining about anything. And see how quickly you can catch yourself, and then translate it, right? Upgrade it, transform it legitimately, not phony, not kumbaya crap. Have it be real. Change your thoughts. Upgrade your interpretation of the thing that you're complaining about. Traffic. We've all learned to complain about traffic, right? Having a problem. Oh, this sucks. That's another one. Notice how many times a day you think or say, oh, it sucks. And upgrade it and say, no, it doesn't. Unless it doesn't, it sucks. Unless it doesn't. Traffic. Oh, this traffic sucks. Pain. God, I can't believe all. And go, and oh, here I go. Oh, I can get a repetition in, just like push-ups. I can get in a mental rep here. This doesn't suck. It's just a bunch of cars full of people going places at the same time. It's congestion. That's all it is. That's all it is. And also, I'm pretty psyched that I own a nice car. That doesn't suck. And it's got air conditioning, climate control, and I got entertainment on the radio. And the roads in Arizona are the best roads in the world. And there's so much to switch into gratitude. And it's not fake. That's the work.
So when my kids, we have groceries, we have to put them away. They have clothes they have to put away. And I'll say, instead of complaining, say, I'm glad I have these clothes to put away. I'm glad I have food to put away in the fridge instead of sitting there. A lot of people will complain about, like you said, their car or their house. And it's like there's somebody else complaining that they don't have a house. There's somebody else complaining they are taking the bus, you know. So you would say replace it with gratitude, right?
100%. And it's not even, this is not about, my work is not about happy thoughts. Okay. It's about being powerful, but it's about living life powerfully, which I'm convinced we're designed to. But we learn so much stuff that has us unnecessarily settle, struggle, and worse, suffer. Like complaining. We have learned to have such a problem with life. When I was back in New Jersey, when I was getting into golf and I was getting into all this, like, wow, man, it's so fascinating. Why do I act like this out here? I decided to do an experiment, a very casual, fun experiment at the golf course on the father-son tournament day. So there's kids and adults. So I stood on the 18th green and I had two clipboards, one for kids, one for adults. And it was just a T-chart of just a plus minus columns. One for kids, one for adults. And I asked everybody that came off 18 green, hey, open-ended question. I said, how'd it go? That's all I had. I didn't say, would you shoot or how'd you play? I just said, how'd it go? Totally open-ended question, right? And the adults, as I'm sure you can guess, 99% of them said horrible things. Just really negative, unless they had an unusually good scoring round. They'd be like, I played good in the front, but managed to screw it up in the back as usual. Couldn't putt to save my life. Would have been good if I could get off the tee. Blah blah blah. The kids, however, and this was, of course, I predicted this would be the outcome, but I didn't realize how severely cool the kids' answers would be. Three of them that stood out for me. One kid said, and he didn't know who I was. I'm a total stranger, and I walk up to this kid, I'm like, "Hey, buddy, how'd it go?" He goes, "Oh man, I made a putt on the second hole, and it was like 100 feet long, and it broke like 4 times." Which is probably a slight, embellishment of reality. But so what the kids like thinking about is the first thing that arises in this kid's field of consciousness was a success story 4.5 hours ago. It was an example of some excellence that he pulled off 4.5 hours ago. And golf, like the 99% of the time the ball doesn't go where you want it to. The first thing he thinks of is a success story. Okay. Another kid said, "Oh, I finally saw the snapping turtle in the pond on 12. It's like the size of my dog. I always thought you guys were lying. It's real." And he's looking, he's in he probably hit his ball in the water. He probably hit his ball in that pond. And he's over there and he sees a turtle. He goes, "Oh, Dad, look, oh my gosh, it's so cool." Right? So he's paying attention to nature. We call that a water hazard. The adults. The kids calling it like heaven. But the answer that I really loved the most is this kid said, "I hit the ball so far off of 16 tee box that it went in the bay," because the course was at the ocean. He hit the ball, and he said, "I hit the ball so far it went in the bay." That means that was a success story. His dad hits first for the back tees. He goes up into the fairway so he can watch his kid hit. And the kid catches it right on the sweet spot. He's like, "Oh, yeah, go, go, go." And the dad's going, "Oh, shit, get down, get down, get down." And the kid's going, "Go, go." And it goes through the fairway into the water, which is something he's never been able to do before, ever hit it that far. And the kid's like, "Oh." And the kid's like, "Dad, Dad." And then I'm going to do my South Jersey accent. He goes, did the ball go in the water?" Because that's how we say it back home. It's not water, it's water. But anyway, The kid's like, "Did it go in the water?" And the dad's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "The kid, you swear?" Isn't that fascinating? The kid hits the ball so far that it actually went through the fairway. He's never been able to do that before. And he's like, "Woo! Let's go." "Oh, I'm sorry. Who's going to have to move back a set of tees?" "Yeah, this guy." And the dad's looking at it like, "Oh, man," the kid finally catches one on the screws and he gets screwed. Two completely different interpretations of the same event. So that was my hypothesis, which is that as we grow older, we're conditioned to experience reality problematically as opposed to enthusiastically. It was one event. A kid hit a ball super perfect. And the kid's going, "That is so amazing."
So it's all like perspective.
Yeah, and the good news here, Jen, there's really good news. Is that normal is to be able to respond to life with enthusiasm and mastery and intelligence, creative genius. And then we learn to see it problematically. So we're complaining every 11 seconds. The good news is we can go back to being normal the way we were in the beginning and upgrade our reactions to responses to life. So that's the practice. Again, going back to your brilliant question in the beginning, how do we practice? Pay attention. Catch yourself in complaint and literally upgrade your responses. I wrote a book to help it be easier, right? So the book is called The Book of Mental Toughness Mantras. So there's 52 phrases in here, like "ain't bad, just is," "best damn day of my life." Like all these different phrases that can help you upgrade, make it easier for you to upgrade your interpretations. Jen, this again is not about happy thoughts. This is not kumbaya BS. This is about being able to work with life so that we can create excellence with less effort, because that's what we're designed for.
Well, and I think as we get older, we do lose the excitement of things. And that's why people love being around kids, because everything's exciting. Everything is exciting. And if we could just look through their eyes and you relive a lot of things and appreciate a lot more.
We can. See, but we can though. We can, but we just haven't practiced because we didn't know that it was a thing, right? That exercise that we just did, that you did in the beginning, which I call the emotional spectrum exercise, would have been handy to learn that in like first grade, maybe even before that, right? So that I know, oh, I can change I have the power to alter my inner experience, my inner world experience, or my states at any moment. And I understand that that's important because how I feel governs how I show up in life, right? So if I'm creating low grade states like fear, right, doubt, disappointment, discouragement, then what kind of action do I take from those states? It's really low grade, if any, action at all. But if I'm choosing to think in ways that result in me creating or putting myself into states like enthusiasm and awe and inspiration, what kind of action do I? Powerful. I take immediate, bold, masterful action from those states, and I have the ability to change my states. So if I want my life to be great, I need my thinking to be great. I mean, it's Buddha who said your whole life unfolds according to the way that you think. So really, another way of answering your question, Jen, is how do we train our minds? Is we're practicing being thought warriors, becoming warriors, not worriers, WARRIORS, becoming amazing, amazing thinkers. Pay attention to your thoughts. If we had transcripts of our thoughts throughout the day, we might be astonished at how shitty a lot of our thinking is. Like we would read it and go, oh my God, that's how I'm talking to myself all the time. Oh my God. No wonder I struggle so much or get sick so often. So it's like upgrade the way that we're thinking, upgrade the way that we talk to ourselves. And I'm going to keep saying it. I will never stop saying this. This is not just about happy thoughts or going to a damn happy place. That's nonsense to me. It's about being happy. It's about being powerful, though. It's about living well. It's about really mastering life and working with it, like so that we can be in what athletes call, or musicians as well, the zone.
Well, don't you think it's easy to have these thoughts when things are going great? So a lot of people react with emotion, right? Instead of intellectually, like figuring out the problem and reacting. So let's say you're in a car accident and you hit the car in front of you. It's your fault. You're going to get emotional. You're probably going to say some things. You might do some things. You might even blame the other driver, even if you hit him from behind. So how would you walk me through that? What would you tell me to tell my mind?
Yeah. So can I back up though a step, because it's such a good question. But it's like, how much training, your ability to respond, not react, your ability to respond is 100% contingent upon your level of training. Okay, with no mental training, you're going to just react all exactly as you just said. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's the best you can do right there because you don't have any training otherwise. Right? So ideally, for me, this is and the beauty of all this is you get to choose how like you want to be. I would prefer that I would not react with fear to anything, ever. I'm not there, but I'm getting there with the practice. So I haven't been in a car accident in a long time, so I can't give you any proof or evidence of how I would respond today. But I can bet with a very, very high degree of certainty that it would be very different than it would have been 10 years ago. Whereas 10 years ago, it might have just been like, oh shit, oh my God, what have I done? Like, oh, this sucks. Shit, I hope they're all right. And my points are good. So even if it wasn't an accident where there'd be somebody injured, I might just be like, oh my God, I'm going to get points on my insurance. Oh, this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And I'd just instantly be, this sucks. I'd be instantaneously in an absolute convincedness that this sucks. Right? Now, I bet that I'm closer, and again, I can't give you proof of this. Well, I can with a different. Actually, let me just switch to that. So, my house was robbed a little while ago. I came home from a trip, and I live alone. My front door was open, not just unlocked. It was open, and I thought, now that's weird. So I looked around. I could see some stuff was off. And I started shouting to make sure there was nobody in the house because I wanted to make sure I'd be physically safe. And there was nobody there. And I walked around, and saw that some stuff, like a TV was gone and just some weird things. And I was shocked at my response. Because my response was like, oh, how fascinating. I swear to God, that was my reaction. And immediately I thought to myself, oh man, this shit works. This mental training's nice. Right? Because again, back in the day, I would have been like, no. Right? But with practice, I have the ability to go, oh, how fascinating, how interesting. So just like visualize, you walk out of the mall and you realize your car's been, you know exactly where you parked, and there's just like shattered glass where your car was, and the car's gone, so your car's been stolen. And imagine that because of the practice, your response is, how fascinating. I did not see that coming. I wonder what amazingness I'll create out of this. Just visualize that. It sounds stupid. It probably sounds weird and dumb, fake to a lot of people because it's so antithetical, it's so contradictory to what we're accustomed to. Right? But that's a possibility if you want to have it. There was a guy that came to one of my workshops one time, and we were talking about all this. We're doing all this stuff, what we're talking about right now, upgrading your interpretations of reality. And he goes, hold on a second. He goes, are you telling me that if I get a flat tire, I'm supposed to be happy? And I said, no, man, no, I love your question, but you're missing the whole point. No, you're not supposed to be anything, actually. Can you even get that? You're not supposed to be anything. With training, you can choose your response. But your question can only be formulated the way you asked it, coming from a convincedness that a flat tire totally sucks. You're like, well, I'm supposed to be happy, meaning like flat tires suck. No, flat tire is a piece of rubber that lost its air compression. It's a tire that just popped. That's what a flat tire is. The end. It's not a pain in the ass unless you have it, and that's your interpretation. So now I've thought this 3 times, Jen. I want to say it. That when I get into this conversation, I feel like it's really important to say this training doesn't start with the big catastrophes. Like the huge, and I say catastrophe because that's just an interpretation. I use the air quotes because it's just an interpretation. Right? Shakespeare said nothing good or bad happens, but thinking makes it so. So everything just is. But I don't want to start my training with the biggest challenges in life, like death of a loved one, or even a car accident. I want to start my training with a broken freaking pen. I want to, like, if you're learning to swim, you know where we don't start? English Channel in the winter, in the storm. Sense. We start in a warm pool, in a shallow end with floaties, because that's what we're going to learn. So when we're practicing upgrading our interpretations of reality, we want to start with all the tiny, small things, like the battery on my remote dies, the pen breaks, I spilled some coffee, or it's cold. Just pay attention to all little things and get in the repetitions, so that when there's an event in life that is really more significant to you, you have earned yourself the ability to respond. It's called responsibility, the ability to respond how you want. So I told that guy, no, you're not supposed to be pissed. You're not supposed to be happy. You're not supposed to be anything. If you get into practice, you can choose your response. So you get a flat tire and you go, all right, well, how do I want to interpret this? I don't even care. You got 3 options. This sucks, this is amazing, or I don't care.
Just get through it.
But it's your call. Or get something out of it. I don't believe in getting through, I want to get through unpleasant situations, but what if I'm not interpreting it as an unpleasant? I don't need to get through it. I want to create so I interviewed a guy who's a former coach of mine named Steve Chandler. Have you ever heard his name before? Steve Chandler, by chance? So his birthday was yesterday. He's an absolute wizard. And I interviewed him for my podcast one time, and the thing that I could never forget that he said during that podcast is the key, Chris, is how quickly are you willing to get to creation from events that don't go the way you wanted them to? How quickly are you willing to get to creation? Like, what can I create from this? I didn't want to get a flat tire. What can I create? What can I create from this? I know. So another coach of mine, Steve Hardison, he got a flat tire, right? He's on his way back from California, coming home to Mesa, Arizona, and he's in the middle of the desert in June, right? It's 120 degrees out. and he gets a flat, and he drives a little Porsche. There's no spares on those. They don't have
No
spares
room.
on the little ones. Exactly. So he gets a flat tire in the middle of the desert, right? 120 miles out from Phoenix with 120-degree heat, and his reaction was, "Oh, this is awesome! I get to make somebody's day. I get to call Porsche roadside assistance, and whoever answers, I'm going to make their day." That's his response. So I heard him tell this story, and I called him up, and I'm like, "Bro, I got a couple questions for you. All right. One is, be serious, man. No bullshit. Swear to God, how long did it take after you noticed you got a flat tire to you getting enthused? Be honest." And he goes, 0 seconds. I'm like, all right. How are you able to do that? And he said, years and years of practice.
You must have had a lot of flat tires. No, I'm kidding.
He's had exactly as much adversities as we all have, and most of us have, right? All throughout the day, little things, pens break, just all the things that we say go wrong, right? And what he has done, and what I'm practicing doing, and what I encourage everyone that listens or watches this to practice as well, is stop having a freaking problem with so much shit in life. And ask yourself, all right, well, I didn't want this. I didn't want the flat tire in the middle of the desert, but what can I create from this? And he called up Porsche, and he's like, hey, and he's all amped up, and this woman answers, and he made her day. She's like, holy shit, are you on drugs? And he's like, yes, I am. I'm on dopamine and serotonin, which are good ones. So what are we? And he just has this beautiful conversation with her, and it really did make her day. And then he got to meet this guy who came out and picked up his car and him and drove him home on a flatbed, and he made that guy's day too. So he's creating. That's the thing, is we get to create from every moment. We are creating. We're always creating. Most of the time, we're creating shit. We're creating annoyance. We're creating disappointment. We're always creating them. So the question is, what do you want to be creating? So when stuff doesn't go the way you wanted it to, the real skillful practice is to get as fast as you can, even if it takes a week. But then eventually with practice, it'll take a day. And with more practice, I'm looking forward to it taking no seconds. What can I create from this? That maybe I would never have thought of if it wasn't for this thing that I'm having such a problem with.
I tell myself a lot that things happen for a reason. So maybe you got the flat tires so that you can meet the tow truck guy that maybe, can help you out down the road with some business plan or something. I feel like there's all these different chance meetings too when bad things happen.
Well, and that's a beautiful thing to say, Jen, because it's like when you're open, when you have your mind that's open to like all kinds of possibilities, we're like, oh wow, I didn't want to get this flat tire, but I wonder what miracle I could co-create from this. So like the reason you say things happen for a reason, well, you have a lot to do with the reason, the creation of it, right? So it's like, because if you're just shitty, then you might not have any conversation with the guy who drives you home. And it just might be awkward silence because you're in a shitty attitude, right? As opposed to when you're creating enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is one of the most intelligent states that we can choose to live in, to create for ourselves as frequently as possible. The word itself is amazing. The word enthusiasm comes from the Greek word entheos. That translates into the creator within. Theos, creator, en, inside, entheos. So when I'm enthused, I'm activating all forms of creative genius. I witness life differently. I have better ideas. I'm listening better and differently. We find what we look for. So if I'm looking for problems, I'll find problems. But if I'm looking for opportunities, I'll find those.
So can you give me an example of you being enthusiastic and making that switch?
Yeah. So not long ago, that's so funny. You just read my mind. I was going to tell this story anyway. That was pretty good. You got skills. You're good. So I had all these. I was going to have a party for my friends with a bunch of steaks and some nice wine. So I got all these steaks. It was actually because I don't know how much detail I need to go into, but I didn't like use all my spending at the club, right, the golf club. So they let me like use the unspent on like all the steaks and wine, like really really great steaks. and they were frozen. I had them in the freezer. I was planning on having this party in like a week or so. I wake up one morning, and I go into the kitchen to get my morning glass of water that I slam, and the kitchen floor is covered in water. And I'm like, holy shit, what happened here? And that's my immediate response is it's not like, oh, neat. Oh, I'm curious. No, it was like, shit, what happened? Right? So, because that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at in my stage of my training. And I'm cool with it. So I open a freezer, I open a fridge, and everything, and it's hot. Like the steaks are all ruined. Like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Notice your reaction if you're having one. Just notice, just here's the work. If you're like, oh man, just notice that. Just be curious. Oh, that's fascinating. I didn't choose that response. That just happened. So, like mine was, I went F-bomb, carpet bomb. I was so pissed off because, I had just had that refrigerator serviced that week. And all the steaks were ruined. And I went postal for about 15 seconds. No lie. And then I thought to myself, you remember what you do for a living, buddy? Yeah, you might have a tool for this. So what I did was I accessed one of my favorite, I call it the great neutralizer mantra. Ain't bad, just is. That's my Jersey boy translation from Hamlet, from Shakespeare, where he said, nothing good or bad happens, but thinking makes it so. Nothing good or bad. So I'm like, ain't bad. It just is. Just a bunch of steaks that just got spoiled. And I instantly went from way, like, shitty, like, livid, to totally neutral. It took me 15 seconds to remember that I got the tools, right? That I have the ability. That's all I got. I remember, I don't have to feel shitty. I don't have to. I can upgrade this. So I went to ain't bad, just is, and I felt neutral. And then I thought to myself, well, you know what? Can we make it better than that? Could it be even better than neutral? And I said, well, I can have another mantra for this one, which is, you know what? This is the best damn thing could have happened. I love that mantra. I love that one. This is the best damn thing that could have happened. I love that response. Now, that exact moment, a buddy of mine was staying. He's also a coach. He's a mental coach. He works with the NBA players. He was staying with me because he goes to work with my former coach, the guy with the flat tire. So my buddy came downstairs, and he sees me standing there in the puddle of water in the kitchen. I swear to God, this is so funny. Now, these are two mental coaches, right? Two established mental coaches. There's got to be a joke in here, Jen. Two mental coaches in the kitchen. So the first thing he says to me is, oh, bro, how pissed are you? That's what he says to me. One mental coach to another dude, right? He's going, oh, bro, how pissed are you? And I go, I'm none pissed. It's the best damn thing could have happened. And he goes, CD, I see you doing the work. Right? And I say, well, you should have seen me a few seconds ago because I wasn't there. Because he goes, well, that's the work, baby. That's the work. So that is the work. And the time is shrinking with the practice because all day, every day, I'm catching myself. Okay, I want to go downstairs. I live on the 22nd floor up here. I'm like, oh, come on, the elevators. Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on? Why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Because I've learned to. That's getting the reps. Just like working out, you got to
So
get in the
what
reps.
happened with the steaks? Did you order out? Was it better than you cooking, or like what was your?
So, so it's like this is the best damn thing could happen. So now it's like 2 years since that happened, right? And you say, well, how is it the best thing that could have happened? Well, at the time, if you asked me, if you said, like at that very second, if you said to me, dude, come on, bullshit, stop. How is this the best thing could happen? I would have said to you, I don't know yet. Give me a minute. I don't know. I'm going to create something cool out of it. Right? But by virtue of the way I'm choosing to respond to this now, something cool is going to come of it. And you know what that is? This story. I've told this story countless times. If you had given me, Jen, if you had given me the option, A or B, A, you get to keep the steaks, have the party and all that. Or B, the steaks were spoiled just the way it happened, and you get a great story to help people, that you could tell the story to help people upgrade their experiences of life. I'm going B all day.
Agree.
So what did I create from it? I created a damn story, a coachable story, a tool that I use in my coaching.
So the papers you held up earlier, I noticed you have I am. I always tell my kids to say, I am the best athlete. I am healthy. I am godly, whatever it is. Why do you think I am is so important? I know why it is.
You ask great. You know you're really
Oh,
really
no,
good
I
at this,
don't.
right?
But thank you.
Okay, well you can know that now. Yeah, you're welcome. You were really good at this. So, I showed you that book, right? The mantras book. There's a phrase that would never ever ever make it into that book, and it's called "fake it till you make it." I make fun of that one, and the reason is there's no need to fake. Like I don't need to. The biggest mistake that I witness people making in the pursuit of their dreams or their desires is putting all this unnecessary time between themselves and those desires. So there's no faking necessary. That's a waste of time. I can choose to be it now. I am. So when I read this or recite it to myself, I am that this is perfect. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Nothing needs to be anything other than exactly what it is. Now, when I say a sentence like that, I usually say a little slower than that. I am that this is perfect. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And nothing needs to be anything other than exactly what it is. Now, when I say that, and it doesn't matter if you agree with it or not, these are my truths, right? When I say that to myself, I am in a state of absolute calm. When I really mindfully articulate those sentences, it's like impossible for me not to experience peacefulness. And then when I do, I think to myself, wow, peace is always there. I don't have to create peace. I just think my way out of it all the time. And when I use language like these I ams, I'm having it be true now. Right? So back to your question, why is I am so powerful? Because I'm having it. We are always creating. We're creating ourselves. So the question is, who do I want to create myself to be in this moment? Who do I want to be right now? I want to be the guy that lives in a perpetual state of lightness of being. I want to be the guy that believes that everything's unfolding exactly as it should. I want to be the guy right now who's the best in the world at what he does. I want to be the guy right now who brings celebration and joy and levity to people. I want to be, so who do you want to be? So be them now. That's why I am is so powerful. We can be that now. And then again now. And then now.
You the guy on the plane everybody wants to sit by when the captain says the engines went out. You remain calm and logical.
You are so the guy that I was telling you about, my buddy Devin, who walked into the kitchen when I was like after I did my work, and he goes, "CD, I see you doing the work." He has a story that he tells about this. He was on a plane coming out to Arizona from New York, and that happened. There was a crazy turbulence, and some people were screaming, "I don't want to." There was a lady, "I don't want to die. I don't want to die," and he was the smooth one because of the work. Now, again, I can't tell you how I'd be because I haven't had that experience, but my buddy did, and he was proud to say because of the work that we do, all day, every day, no seconds off, then he's able to respond, so he could actually serve that woman. He said, "We're gonna be all right." He did. He's like,
I was on an airplane that happened. And if you've seen the movie Airplane, long time ago, I was the one that said, we're all going to die. And then it was a domino effect. I mean, I was 18 at the time. So of course I was scared out of my mind, but, yeah, but the plane,
only because you weren't like all of us introduced to the work. You never got in any practice on how to respond. Right now, there's no right or way to respond to anything. But the thing is, you can't even choose your response if you haven't practiced. You're just going to react.
like you said, you have to practice with the little things and catch yourself so that you could be prepared for the big things.
That's it. It's like that's exactly right. It's like when you work out physically, you do the reps. You got to get in the reps for what? Well, some people work out just to prevent injury. Some people work out because they like to be strong. So it's like, okay. Well, but when you stop working out, you lose the benefits. So it's the same thing with your mind. If you're not training it, you can't control it.
This is probably a really hard question to answer, but what would you say to somebody with addiction? Why is addiction so hard for people to break when it's something that you have to pick up, like say it's alcohol? You have to literally, it, I mean, you're smarter, you're bigger, you're better, and it has this hold on people.
Yeah, I have, well, here's my answer. I believe that all addictions, it doesn't matter what the source is, or the practice, or whether it's booze, drugs, sex, or food, or anything. All addictions are fundamentally a spiritual deprivation crisis. And what I mean by that is deprivation is that I am in the belief that something is missing from my life. There is some void, something absent that needs to be present in order for me to feel whole, for me to feel like my first I ams. I am an expression of divine grace in human form. That's a powerful ass sentence. And that's why it's the first one on my whole I ams list, right? But I can, when I say to myself, I am an expression of divine, and that's language I got from when I studied it in India. The language is a little weird, but I love it because it was personal. It was an amazing experience for me. I am an expression of divine grace in human form. What could be wrong with my truth? When I recite that, I'm like, In that moment, I'm needless. Addictions are the opposite of that state. It's like I have pain because I have belief that something's missing in my life. So I'm going to medicate the pain, which is actually smart. So if I'm doing drugs, I'm medicating. It's actually an intelligent move because, I'm medicating. I don't want to feel pain. So I do this. Now, it just happens to be a maladaptive approach to treating the void. But if I can understand that fundamentally at the bottom of my desire to go shoot up, or booze hard, or go to strip clubs, or whatever, if I can understand that that's the only reason that I'm driven to do that and compelled chronically is because of a belief that I have that isn't true.
I said it sounds easy, it sounds really easy. It's just it's very hard.
I see that's an interesting comment, right? Because it does sound easy, and is it really hard? I don't know. Like, that's another practice that was, it's so hard. It's calling everything hard. Is it hard? Maybe maybe it's hard. Maybe it just takes reps. It's not. You know what? It's not complicated. Okay, so maybe let's get out of the easy hard thing. It's not complicated. Meaning the practice here, strengthening my mind, is no more complex than paying freaking attention, right, to how I'm feeling. Back to the addictions. Like, so I'm feeling compelled to get hammered. Okay, why? Let's just slow it down. No judgment, just curiosity. You ever watch Ted Lasso?
No, I didn't. No.
It's a really cool show. They're coming out with season 4 is just about coming out. But there's this great scene where he quotes Ted Lasso's quoting Walt Whitman, and it's a great quote. Be curious, not judgmental. That's mental toughness right there. Be curious, not judgmental. So I want to be curious about my addictions. Well, I sure do drink a lot, and I drink a lot. Okay, I'm curious. Just be curious about it. No judgment whatsoever. Let's just examine it and open up to it. Like, what is missing? I'm not judging at all. What is missing from my life? What do I wish was different? And open up to the curiosity. Is it hard? I don't know. I don't know that there's great value in that debate of like easy hard.
Well, I mean, and a lot of people just want to chalk things up like that's just the way I am. I hear that a lot. A lot of people don't want to do the work. They just say that's just how I am. A lot of people focus on their path or their past. They want to cry over something that happened 20 years ago and they're still feeling bad about it, but you're in a great place and your life is great. So I don't know. I think I think don't you think we're living in a weaker mind society when you see the generations coming up? I mean, the 80s when I grew up, it was great. I feel like a lot of my mental toughness came because of the things I had to experience. We have a lot of helicopter moms. I was one of them for a long time until I felt like it wasn't doing my kids justice. Do you feel like we're living in a state of weakness as far as our mental toughness goes?
Yes, but not any more than like when you grew up or when I grew up or when my parents grew up. I think that it's just the human condition, right? It's like, of course, generations are different, but the human condition over time, I am of the belief that we're actually evolving in a good direction. Like that this conversation is occurring is a good sign. Like that people have introduced mental mastery courses, classes in grade schools inspired by all the elementary school mass shootings is a great sign. Okay, you know that they're integrating. There's one woman whose son was killed saving his friends from a shooter in a class, and she took it upon herself to create from the tragedy, right? To create what excellence can I create from this tragedy? Amazing. That's mental toughness right there. And she inspired the schools to adjust their curriculum to include emotional mastery so that kids don't feel inspired to go.
So, how would you define emotional mastery? That was one of my questions. And you said we weren't going to get to all my questions because there's a lot to them.
You sent me. I mean, you talk about thorough. Like this is what she sent me in preparation. I'm like, do we have 10 hours? That's good stuff. My definite. So wait, are you saying like what's mental?
Yeah,
What's
like how
emotional
would you
mastery?
explain that to somebody?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's how I define it. All right, it's the same. So I said it before. It's the same. Mental toughness. I'm going to say some synonyms here. Okay, mental toughness, mental mastery, emotional mastery, enlightenment, all synonymous. Enlightenment. Right? I don't make that some ethereal woo-woo kind of deal. It's like light. One of my favorite mantras or phrases is, if it ain't light, it ain't right. And that comes from examining peak performance. Because whenever, an athlete, and I used to coach, that's why I know Adam, I used to coach elite athletes, and I've asked who knows how many thousands of athletes over the years to describe peak performances, and no one's ever described it as like a heavy, painful experience. It's always like super light and amazing and cool, and even effortlessness. So my definition of all those is the ability to, I'll say it again, the ability to respond rapidly to all of life with grace and mastery, creative genius and enthusiasm, so that we can get to the creation of excellence faster and with least effort. That's what emotional mastery is. How do you get it? How do I heighten my EQ? How do I strengthen my emotional quotient, right? Or my emotional mastery? Practice, 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 replacing complaints with authentic expressions of gratitude. Right? Practice getting really sophisticated at noticing how you're feeling from moment to moment and taking ownership of that. Saying, I'm not feeling this way because of what's going on. This is huge. The ownership is huge because you're never going to get any mental mastery without owning your states. If you're blaming the world for how you're feeling, you're done. You're going to live in a victim mentality, victim of circumstance perpetually. So, oh man, I'm feeling so pissed off right now. Awareness, step one. Ownership. I ain't pissed because of what they just said. I'm pissed because how I'm thinking about it. That's huge. That's freedom. Right? And then the last step is to replace. So it's catch, own, replace. Man, I'm pretty pissed right now. So I'm like, oh, I'm so pissed at him because he called me that name in front of people. No. Yes, I'm pissed, but that's not why I'm pissed. I'm pissed because I'm thinking poorly about that happened. See the difference? I cannot assign responsibility to that cat for my states. He just said some harsh things about me. How am I so catch, own, I'm pissed because of how I'm thinking, not because of what he said. What he said is harsh, but that's not why I'm pissed. I'm pissed because of how I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking that's bullshit. I'm thinking nonsense. Now, replace, how I want to upgrade. I might say, you know what? Everybody's doing the best they can with what they got available to them at the time. That ain't even about me. Hurt people, no judgment. And that's my new self-talk. That's a practice. That's a solid rep right there. That's a solid rep, meaning upgrading from goddamn him to everybody's doing the best they can with what they got. And I'm not saying that's what you should say. I'm saying that's what a rep looks
Then
like.
you give them power too, right?
And get in as many.
With your reaction, or you thinking about them or obsessing about them.
We give away. Exactly. We give away. We power hemorrhage all day, and it's not just with people; it's with events like the flat tire. Or, when my house got robbed, or anything, or the pen breaking, like all of the things. We give away so much power. Think about how much. There's a really good. Do you know who Michael Singer is? He wrote a couple books recently, fairly recently, The Untethered Soul. The author, his name is Michael Singer. If you go to YouTube and you search Michael Singer Fighting the Universe, you'll find a beautiful 6-minute video on everything that we're discussing. It's so sweet. It's really, really great. So I encourage you to check it out. You might even put it in if there's show notes. But watch that. Michael Singer. It's something about like why do we fight the universe? But if you just put Michael Singer Fighting the Universe, you will find it. And it's all about how much time like how beautiful life is, how magnificent life is without us having to do anything. And yet a part of the human experience is just creating so much of a problem with so much of reality. And we can stop doing that and instead work with reality. Because reality by itself is nice. We need to learn to play well.
Do you believe in vision boards? Do you like vision boards? Do you believe in writing things down, or do you think you could just get up and think about things? I've been told that you have to literally write things down and you have to read it every day, or vision boards. What do you recommend?
All of it. Anything like Post-its are my life. I keep 3M in business because I mean I always have like a lifetime supply of Post-its because I'm writing down stuff that I'm thinking about and I want to remind myself. And the Post-its are everywhere. I got this big the big page Post-its in my office. I'm not in my office right now, but they're there like think, feel, do, results, and all the things. On my bathroom mirror, I have this written down. BD. Do you know what that stands for?
I don't.
Best damn day of my life.
I like that.
I wake up and I have that be true. It's not fake. Every day I wake up and I do the work inside to have it be the best damn day of my life. Vision boards, absolutely. It's like what is in your face. Like okay, so on my kitchen table, I have one of the big projects I'm working on is a financial target. Right, it's a financial decision that I made, an amount of money that I've declared that I will create in the next couple of years. So that's the equivalent of a vision board. And what I did was I used my clone. I have a coaching clone of me. You could use Chat GPT, whatever. And I said, create a convincing argument on why it's absolute destiny. It's guaranteed lock that I'm going to make this amount of money in the next 2 years. And it came up with like all this excellent stuff. So I read that. And it's a declaration every day. So same as a vision board. What are you putting in? So Einstein said, fantasy is a preview of coming attractions. I love that quote. Yeah, so the vision board makes it easier because you're looking. You say, yeah, that's right. I'm creating that house, or I'm creating this, or I'm creating me being that way. And I'm creating this. So putting it, feeling it in your mind. It's the same thing as this. This is like a word vision board. So we're always creating. So yeah, I love that. I mean, like, yes to all of that. We need to continue to fill our minds with what it is that we want to create for ourselves, or we're just going to be creating what we're influenced by. And that's not very powerful.
Okay, here's some fun questions just to get to know you. Are you a night owl or morning person?
I used to be a night owl, and now I'm totally a morning person.
I am too. I like to wake up before everybody and I like to see the sunrise and it's quiet and I like that too. What's your favorite food?
Italian, across the board. Although if I had to pick one, it would be spaghetti and clams.
Oh, clams. Okay.
Clam sauce. I love clams.
Biggest weakness. What's your biggest weakness?
Defensiveness. I learned to defend myself a lot as a child because it was useful. It was actually a survival tactic, right? So it was useful. But I practice it so damn much that I'm great at it. So I take a lot of shit personal, and people could even be supporting me, but I'll hear it the wrong way because I've rehearsed believing that I'm being attacked. So I ain't done with that one yet. I'm working on that.
Is there anything you're afraid of? You said you don't really play into fear, but is there something that you're afraid of?
Oh, absolutely. I'm on the 22nd floor. I can barely walk to my balcony because I'm scared to death of heights. I get all goofy. Like, it's so beautiful. I'm at the Sea of Cortez, and I can barely even go over there. I get all weird.
Something people would be surprised to know about you. Do you have like a weird cork or something?
Well, I don't know. Well, I'm sure I do have plenty of those. Maybe I'm not aware of them. But I worked on a scallop boat. I don't think. I think people might be a little surprised that I came out of college and I was floundering, and I just walked down to the docks one day in South Jersey in Cape May, and saw a boat that was loading up. And I said, "What are you guys going out for?" And they said, "Scallops." I'm like, "Wow, you need help?" And they said, "Sure." And I went out, and it was the probably the worst experience of my life.
I thought you were going to say it was peaceful or something, being out there.
Nope. Not that, wasn't that. It was horrible. It was horrible. Which is an interpretation. But I got to tell you though, I created from it though. Honest to God, I did because I didn't know what I was getting into. It was a totally, obviously, way impulsive decision. I had this glamorized, distorted vision of what I thought it was going to be like Hemingway-esque. Because bullshit was horrible. But I was out 62 miles at sea in November. It was this time of year, and we worked 18 hours. I had to pick through a pile of junk that we scrape off the ocean floor and dump on the back of the boat. My job's to sift through that, trying not to fall into it, and things are biting me and stabbing me. And these toothless hillbillies working on the boat, all doing blow, just keep screaming at me. I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. You know what? I'm just gonna jump over I would rather sink to the bottom of the ocean than have to be out here for a month with these jack wagons. And I thought, well, I'm not gonna die. I don't want to die yet. So I gamified the whole thing. So I got into like, all right, if this is the rest of my life, how would I possibly have it be somehow fun, even a little? So I made games. So I gamified the whole thing. Can I get through this whole pile without falling down? Can I get through the whole pile without getting stabbed by a dorsal fin? Can I get through the pile without getting snapped by a crab? Can I get finished? Can I fill a bucket before the toothless crackhead yells at me?
If you could only recommend one daily habit for mental strength, what would it be? Just one habit, just so we could start small.
Complain less today than you did yesterday, and complain less tomorrow than you did today. Or you know what? I'm going to say it differently. I'll say it differently, Jen. Get better today at catching your complaints faster and turning them into genuine expressions of gratitude, and then get better at that tomorrow.
I like that. What about what was the hardest book that you wrote and why? Why was that one the hardest?
Great question. The first of the four, and it's called Creating Your Dream. And the reason it was the hardest is because I thought it was hard. Because I was in this bullshit convincedness that like, oh, writing a book's such a hard. So it took me forever. It took me years and years and years and years. Oh my God, so funny. You ask such great questions, Jen. I didn't start for years because I thought it was going to be hard. When I finally sat the hell down, it took me like 3 months, which still is long to me now. But it took years to even start because of a convincedness that was nonsense that this is going to be a huge, difficult, challenging project.
I feel like in life, a lot of times us thinking about doing something is harder than just executing the idea or the practice or whatever.
That's why, here's another takeaway, right? Is heighten your awareness, everybody, to like how often you go, oh, it's so hard. I don't know. It just maybe it just is.
So the words we shouldn't use is hard, no complaining. Are there any other negative words that stand out that you find people always saying that
Should,
convinces us?
should, should. Yeah, well, that's shame. And shame is, as far as I'm concerned, the most toxic of emotions that we could ever experience. And like, oh, I should work out more. Oh, I shouldn't eat so much. Or I should be more, I should make more money. All this should shit. There was a Jersey boy, speaking of Jersey boys, there was a psychologist whose name was Albert Ellis. He was very mean. He was a very good therapist, but he was very mean. So when his clients would say, I should have gone to that wedding. Stop, he was screaming at them, stop shooting on yourself. It's pretty funny.
Which book would you recommend for my 17-year-old to read?
Oh, of mine. Oh, 100%
A
this one.
17-year-old. So the
Yeah,
mental
this one.
toughness, and we have that
It's
one.
the easiest. All right, so ask him. Is it Jet?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I met Jet. When I met you, I think it was. Remember we met on the
Monster trucks.
concourse at a game. It was at a what?
Was it monster trucks? I love going to monster trucks. Adam hates it. I wanted to be a monster truck driver.
At a, it was at a Diamondbacks Phillies game. in
Oh, I thought it was
Arizona.
at monster trucks.
It was a game because that's when he introduced me to the announcer Tom McCarthy, who he used to call games with, T Mac, who I'm still in touch with. I was texting him yesterday because of that. So, anyways, yeah, it's such an easy book to read because the chapters are like 2 pages long, and so you just like pick one, you just open it up and say, my language is the fingerprint of my thinking. So that's literally 1 page. And you just reflect on that and say, all right, that's my mantra for today. So I'm going to practice watching my language. I'm going to really examine. I'm going to be really conscious of watching what comes out of my mouth and just be curious. Do I even agree with what I just said?
But sometimes it does feel good to slam stuff around and shout at people and things like that. It feels good sometimes to give it to people instead of being so logical and peaceful and things like that.
I agree with you. I 100% agree that if I have steam, I want to let the steam out, right? In physics, steam is pressure, okay? And it's dangerous, right? But it needs to be released or something's going to go. Like something is going to blow. It's going to find the weakest area and it's going to blow. It's physics, okay? It's the same with our emotions. If we got steam, it needs to be got rid of. But what if we didn't create the steam in the first place? Like, what if it's possible if I practice stopping having a problem with so much shit, I might not feel the inspiration to slam things. I might not have the desire to go postal. Just open up to that as a possibility. It's very healthy to get rid of the steam that has already been created. But the question is, what if I practice interpreting things differently over time so that the steam doesn't occur in the first place? So the venting is not necessary. That's an option that I'm interested in.
Okay, last question. Hardest people you've worked with? Is it the business people? Is it the athletes? Can you say the world leaders?
You know who it was though? It was my very first job. So after the scallop boat, I became a social worker, and I was working on the streets of Atlantic City, New Jersey, with chronic schizophrenics. That was the hardest work in my life. It's such a there's so many words I could use to describe it. Confusing, and I don't want to call it a disease because that's a Western medical model. Because I studied in South Africa also, and I studied with a shaman who's called a sangoma, and we really got talking about schizophrenia. And in different cultures in the world, there are people that experience like what we call symptoms, right, that mimic schizophrenia. Like we call them hallucinations and delusions. And in other cultures, those people become shamans because they're experiencing reality in a unique way where they can bring experiences of reality that we don't have to us. So it's like a gift. But in our culture, we pathologize the shit out of them, and then they become paranoid, and we medicate the shit out of them. That was tough because that was hard. It was really really hard. People thinking that there's aliens out to get them all day, and just living in perpetual paranoid states. It was hard. Here I am talking hard. But you know what came of it though? See, that's me doing the work right there. I'm watching my mouth. That was me paying attention
And
to my
I
language.
caught it too. I was letting you have your moment.
You can call me out. I invite that. Call me out. I don't want to do this alone. It's easier to have help. But I did crave from it. I did pay attention that like over 4 years that I did that work, I realized that the few people that against all the odds they just chose to believe good things. They got the good breaks, even with like schizophrenia. It's the people that for whatever combination of reasons, they're homeless, they're schizophrenic, they have paranoid delusions, and people make fun of them. They're ostracized. Their family won't talk to them. They live in shithole group homes. But for whatever reasons, they still cared to try to take care of themselves. They seem to get the breaks. And I don't think there's a coincidence there.
Do you feel like you overthink things sometimes? Do you feel like you're just thinking? Do you ever get exhausted just by thinking so much and correcting yourself or trying to do all these practices?
I don't. You know what? I don't know. In fact, it's invigorating to me because what I'm doing is my metacognition, right, which is thinking about your thinking, results in me upgrading it. So that's not exhausting. right? It's invigorating. What's exhausting is spending so much time not knowing that I'm thinking like shit, which is resulting in me feeling like shit. That's exhausting. So the work that I take no seconds off of is actually invigorating. So that's like a difference between physical training and mental training, is you can't overtrain mentally, and it doesn't exhaust you.
It's so important. I mean, I think it's so important. Mental is, I think it's everything. I think it's the way you get through things. I think it's the way you bring yourself back to home.
You and Buddha are in agreement then, because Buddha said, right, your whole life unfolds according to the way that you think. Your whole life unfolds according to the way that you think. So let's all practice becoming thought warriors.
And every time I got on an airplane, I thought it was going to crash, and I almost had my wish come true. I used to just manifest and think, and just every time. It's very scary, and it's very true.
Right? Be mindful of what you wish for. Thoughts become things, right? What I think about, I bring about. There's a million ways of saying the same thing.
Good and bad. Well, thanks for joining me, and I look forward to talking in the future, hopefully. And I would love to get a couple sessions in with Jet. I mean, I know we've talked about him talking with you, so it'd be good.
Yeah, cool. Well, Jen, I'll reiterate. First of all, this has been super fun. Okay, so thank you for the invitation. It's an honor, and you're really good at this. So,
Oh, thank
bravo.
you. Thanks for listening to Unfiltered. And remember, the truth hurts, but it also heals. If this episode moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And now it's time for the pup of the podcast.